Hey, what's going on to all of my multicultural rockers out there? It's your girl, Blazing Quita, and this, of course, is Riott Grrl TV here on Stardom 101 magazine. Today's word on the street interview, I must say, he has to be one of my favorite guests that I've enjoyed interviewing so far. Not only is he someone who has a heart of gold, but he really appreciates the true form of what classic 80s rock music is, but he steps outside of those boundaries and he plays all different types of variety when it comes to his musical performances. And you're probably wondering, who am I talking about? I'm talking about Sarantos. So let me read to you a little bit more about him. Sarantos' unique sound has been described by industry insiders as an emotionally powerful vocal style, masterfully united with music that is a fusion of classic 80s rock blended with modern soft rock and pop music. I'm not going to waste any time. He was an honor to talk to. Here is my interview with Sarantos. Tell me a little bit more about what compelled you to become interested in the music industry.
No, I think I've always, to be quite honest, been interested in it from as long as I can remember. My parents were very musically oriented. They didn't really play an instrument, but they would sing, dance, and encourage us to do whatever we wanted musically. So it was always around our house, and it was always on the car radio and just anywhere we went. So I think that's kind of where it started. And I think it took me a long time to really give this a shot. And I think that's probably my one regret in life. But I feel like it's something that I just had to do. And I'm so happy that I'm finally doing it.
So you mentioned that it took you a while. Like, were there any barriers that prevented that? Or did you feel that you were your own worst enemy?
Probably a little bit of both. I think that growing up, the one thing I always felt comfortable doing was writing lyrics, and that was probably the thing I focused on the most. And I think, just kids, I think they tease each other. No one really, especially, 10 years ago or so, took singing seriously, especially for a guy to be singing. So there was some barrier there, and you just kind of have to get over that and say, look, I love doing it. And just kind of give it a shot. And I think I always felt like my voice wasn't good enough, and I never took singing lessons or anything, but it was something that I never felt confident enough to do it. And, on the flip side, I think a lot of people, when you're a teenager or college, everybody might have this aspiration to be a singer or movie star, but nobody really goes for it. So I think society kind of encourages you, get a job, do something, make money, eventually have a family. And I think they don't really, if you want to do an artistic type thing, I think it is a little frowned upon. And even the people that kind of make it, I think everybody kind of senses that. And I don't think people really talk about it as much. But I think as a society, there is a little stigma there of, that's not a real job. And you have to be careful. So obviously, I'm trying to do this while working full time and doing what I do. But I think everyone should. And that'd be my only advice to aspiring artists is you can do it safely. You don't need to move to New York or LA and, be a waiter and give up your, you can do it reasonably where you give it a shot, but you're also securing your future and your family's future or whatever you have going on. I mean, I think that's very reasonable to do. And I think more people should do that.
No, I honestly and totally agree with you on that. I constantly tell people, I have people tell me the same thing too, that I need to like relocate, and I'm a Midwest girl, so it's like me relocating to LA, it would be like I would have to know people or at least have some kind of foundation. So that's why I find it really interesting with, with you're doing this, on an independent type level, and yet you have 1 million followers on Twitter. Like, how does that feel, having that kind of attention put on your music?
First of all, it's very flattering, and every day I'm very humbled by the comments I get, the interactions I get. It seems like every day I'm getting on some compilation CD or getting some publisher that's interested in a TV show or movie, and obviously the smaller stuff, but I don't mind it at all. I mean, I've told people this nonstop. They can use my music for free. They don't even have to pay me. I think just the exposure that I get, I'm very willing to do that. And I'm also willing to write new music and new lyrics for anything. And I think at the end of the day, I do this, I would give up everything for this, but I'm kind of doing it on the side. And I think when I'm doing it at 10, 11 o'clock at night, 2 in the morning, I really have never thought of it as work. And it's just this passion that I have, and I love doing it. And I know people always say if you love what you do, it's not work. And I love my other job and I love what I do, but I really, really don't consider this work. It's easy. And I don't get tired. And I'm very humble that anyone would follow me, or anytime I get a comment about, oh, your voice is nice, the lyrics are nice. I really thought I would get a lot more negative comments. And people have been very generous. And I really, just expected there to be more balance to it, but it's been very, very positive, and it's just humbling. I mean, I love it, and I love the fans, and I interact direct, and I don't think I'll ever stop doing that.
Yeah, you honestly, for coming out as a new artist, you're very, very lucky with the criticism. I think when it comes to being a musician versus I would say being part of the media, I think that's where the differences are. Because like when you're a part of the media, it's like you're a critic per se.
Sure.
So if I listen to your music and say it sucks, which it doesn't, but if if I say something about you in a constructive way, for some weird reason, people still kind of give me that kind of hate. But I think with you, it's kind of hard to hate you, to be honest. It really, you're one of those people, like, I listen to your music, there's purpose, there's message to it. It's not like you're Britney Spears or something like that, where you have this you have high expectation, but I don't think it's at the same level, because you have your own level. But I think once you have a mainstream level, I like to call it, then that's when people become super judgmental. But that's just me.
Sure. And the flip side to that too is I crave criticism. I mean, I ask everybody what they think, and I can be I'm a perfectionist, and I'm never happy. And whether it's Reverb Nation and getting 100 views and hearing what other artists have to say, and my music is so diverse that, one song is a little dance, the other is more rock pop, the other is more, it's such a variety that I understand that I'm not going to appeal to everyone, but I want to know what they think. And I take everything to heart. And no matter what you do creatively, if you try to make your voice sound soothing and a little on the monotonous side, other people are going to tell you don't have enough emotion. And, so I understand that, but I really listen to everybody, and I want feedback, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to appeal to 0.1% of the world, and that will make me wildly successful. But, I'm okay with that. I mean, I understand the criticism, and I don't take it personally. I really don't. So,
yeah, you're a really good sport, because I mean, I see new artists, and if I tell them something as simple, as maybe adding more social media, they're like, "How dare you tarnish my brand?" And I'm like, "No,
yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely." Is there a particular genre? I mean, you've got, you have your rock, and you have, dance and pop. You have a little bit of everything. But is there a particular genre where you're like, I don't know if I could really do this? Like, would you consider doing like maybe a fusion album with like hip hop or different elements?
Yeah, I think when I look at what I consider myself an 80s rocker who came from a time machine from the 80s, lived among everybody here in the future, and just listened to pop and rock music. And the fusion is what I think I am. Now, on the flip side, I like to challenge myself. So you mentioned hip hop. I actually have a really cool rap song coming out called Why in a couple months. And again, people look at me like, why'd you do a rap song? Why'd you do a country duet? Why'd you do, and to me, I think it's fascinating. Even the dance song I did, I Love to Love You Too, it's gotten great reviews. It's really funky and cool and different. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not with a big label. So they're not going to tell me you got to just do your thing as soft rock and pop and you got to do that. And again, this first CD has had some wild variety to it. I think the second CD is going to be closer to kind of where I am lyrically and musically, my voice. But I don't think I'm ever going to stop experimenting. And I will corroborate with anybody. I mean, if there's some musician out there that's like, hey, let's do a song together, I mean, I'd be more than happy to write the lyrics and sing it. And I'd love to do stuff like that. So I don't like limiting myself at all.
So let's transition more into your charity work. And this is something that I ask a lot of people who are in music, because for me it's been kind of an issue because, like, for example, with Hurricane Katrina, we had all these people who were musicians, celebs, everything like that, and they did, philanthropy for that. But I feel that sometimes philanthropy can go one or two ways. There's people who do it from the heart, and then there's people who do it as, a way of kind of building their careers. So what does that mean to you when you participate in these type of charities and just getting involved in that type of work?
Sure. I look at it, I certainly understand both aspects. So I understand the people that say you're full of shit, that, you're just trying to get publicity. I totally get that. And I know other people have done that. And I guess the only way they'll know that I'm genuine is if my career ever takes off to the point that I reveal what I do for a living. I think people kind of understand then why I'm doing it and what I'm trying to do and that I'm being real about it. In the meantime, again, every month I contact the charity and say, look, I picked you guys. You're going to be getting a third of all profits for the song released next month. If it gets on a big movie, if it gets wherever, whatever it sells on iTunes, you're getting a third of those profits for the rest of the life of the song. And some have been very nice. Most have been like, okay, that's nice. Just mail us the check here. So, I think my hope is that as I get bigger, that maybe the charity will be more interactive to the point that I don't want them to publicize it and say, hey, buy this song for this reason. But I think eventually it would be really cool to say, hey, it's October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Let's do a fashion show with breast cancer survivors together, and I'll perform for free, and the song will go to that proceed. And I'd love to do stuff like that. The one thing I've really wanted to do the last couple of years and haven't been able to do it is, to dress up as Santa Claus and go to one of the children's hospitals and just give out a bunch of toys. So I'm hoping that as the music gets out there, that I'm able to do charity stuff, because I tell people all the time, I'll perform for free. I mean, get me my plane ticket. Obviously, I have to pay for the band, but, me personally, I mean, I'm a cheap date. You can get me out to any part of the world. The band doesn't cost that much to pay for them to travel and go, and whatever you make off it, I mean, I'd be happy to raise money for charity. So that really is my angle, my ulterior motive, as I say it. And, you're always going to have doubters, and that's not why I'm doing it, but I hope that I can hold up big checks for these charities at some point in the future. I really do.
Right. And then for me, I really hope that the charities kind of understand the purpose of why you're doing it. Because I think that's where the conflict is for me when people, they do community service, is that, sometimes the charities themselves are not always grateful for that, because it does take a lot of effort especially with you. I mean, you've written over, 2,000 songs. There's a preparation, there's an emotional attachment and connection, that you do. And then, all the musicians you work with, like, who have you really worked with your band?
I was lucky. I just finished the Toronto Music Festival, which was kind of my first live gig with this new band. And I had hooked up with the music director that was going to take care of everything, and he kind of didn't do anything he told me he was going to do, so I lost a month. But I found basically a local band in Chicago, that great jazz band, great. They didn't have a lead singer, and I basically hired them and said, hey, so we rehearsed a couple times, and I want to continue using them because they're great. And obviously I'm a solo music artist, so the music is all mine, but they learned the guitar, the bass, the drums, and they basically played it, and they did a great job, I thought. So I'm hoping now my next intention is to start doing more gigs, But again, since I'm not doing it full time, I can't really go on tour all over the United States. So I'm hoping that as things build, I'd have no problem touring around the world. But at that point, obviously, there has to be some kind of money coming in to support the career so I can give up my full time job. So, but in the meantime, I'd love to perform once every week or two, and I'm willing to go anywhere. But again, hopefully they're larger venues that don't just have 10 people. Hopefully they have at least 100 people or something. But you can't really predict that. But the band is great so far. I'm really happy to work with them.
And my final question for you is, what advice would you give for someone who, like you, the best way you described it is, you're working full time and you're doing this, on the side, and how do you create that balance, I would say, would be that advice. Because I see a lot of these young folks, like you said, they'll give up whatever they're doing or whatever is their source of income to do this full time. And I mean, talent, yeah, everybody has talent, but I think there's something that certain musicians have that builds on that longevity, and that's why they're able to kind of move on and pursue it full time.
There's so many aspects to it. I guess the simplest advice I could give them is, unfortunately, music is a business, and it's probably one of the most, I don't want to say corrupt, but it's hard to figure out. There's a lot of people out there trying to, tell you, hey, sign with me, give me 50% of all your publishing, and I'll do all this stuff, and they never do it. There's a lot of labels, managers that can take advantage of you. So my advice is keep your day job, do something, and especially when you're young, you have all the time and energy in the world. If you don't have a family and you don't have anything else going on, I think you can easily keep some kind of job going while you're pursuing your dream. And I think it takes time. You got to build it slowly. I was working on my social media 6 months to a year before I released the song. So it didn't just happen overnight. And I think I get why they're frustrated and they want to quit, because those thoughts run through any creative person's mind all the time. And if you spend $10 to promote something or $100 and nothing's coming in, it's very hard to keep doing it. But again, if you love doing it, just be persistent, and I think you'd be surprised eventually. You go from one fan to 2 to 10 to 20, and I think social media, the other advice I give them is numbers don't matter. About a month ago when I Love to Love You 2 came out, at one point, I got like 100,000 Facebook likes within like a week. It was crazy. It was being played on radio stations. It was really doing well. And on Facebook, at one point, there were like 160,000 people talking about me, which is crazy. And that's what like huge artists get that have very popular songs on the radio. Of course, it didn't last, but, just look at it, 1-to-1. And even if you have 1 million followers, it doesn't mean they're going to buy a song. You could have 1 million Twitter followers and you've sold 20, 30 songs. So you just got to be persistent. And probably the last thing I tell them, which was fascinating when I found this out, I didn't realize this, but last year on iTunes, something like 33% of the songs sold like less than one copy. So it's kind of crazy to think that if you're an artist, of course you're going to buy your song on iTunes. So a third of songs sell less than one copy. So they got to keep it in perspective. You could have the best song in the world, but most people haven't heard it. So there's no magic formula, and you just got to be careful because there's a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of you.
And how can people keep in touch with your social media and let us know of any upcoming events and things that you want people to be aware of?
Sure. So the main website is melogia.com, which is melogia.com. And my name is Sarantos, Sarantos. If they Google me, I'm on Twitter, Facebook. They can check out my information anytime. And I am going to be playing at the Chicago Music Festival in Grrl in June. So end of June. So that'll be my next live gig, and then hopefully some more after that.
Thank you so much, Sarantos, for being on. I really, I feel that you represent like a real man to me, I feel there's so much fakeness when it comes to this music. Like you said, it's a business at the end of the day. And I really hope that you don't lose that authenticity because I've seen it myself. People get bigger and more opportunities. But I think with you, you're so genuine that you can see through the BS. So I'm gonna be, you know, following you and everything and seeing how you develop. And if you ever want to come back on, you know, I'm here for you.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
No matter how big I get or don't get, I'd be happy to be back anytime. And I've been through so much in my life, and I've always, I grew up, my dad in the restaurant business, and I always believed I've washed dishes, I've done every menial job you can think of, and I value people, and I really don't care how big I ever get. I will never not value people, because to me, it's all about people. It's all about saying hi. It's all about treating everybody the same, and I really believe that, and no amount of money is going to change that for me.
Thank you so much for coming on, and we'll definitely be keeping in touch. And if anything new, you know, comes up, I'll be playing your songs and all of that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anything you need, let me know anytime.
I would like to thank once again Sarantos for being on today's program. Please make sure to follow his Twitter, which is at twitter.com/SarantosMelogia. I am surprised I said it right on the first try. It took me like 50 tries, okay? But that is his Twitter. Also, please make sure to check out his official website, which is Melogia.com. I will have everything listed below. If you want a unique twist on 80s, like classic rock, or just pop music in general, Sarantos is definitely an artist that you want to listen to. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, Riott Grrl TV here on Stardom 101 magazine. Of course, the interviews is called Word on the Street. And I just feel so blessed to be able to present these interviews and conversations to you, because I really want people to know that if you want to be in the entertainment business, if this is something that you are passionate about, you've got to have intelligence, but on top of that, you've got to have a very, very hard work ethic. Plus, you got to have tough skin as well, because people will tell you all kinds of horrendous things to discourage you, and I'm here to tell you that you've got to stay strong. I mean, I wouldn't be doing these videos if I was listening to all the stupid hater comments that I get from, you know, time to time. So thank you so much for watching. I am Blazing Quita, and remember, of course, to stay classy and don't be trashy.